building an app and taking it to market. It's one of the biggest questions we get from clients, and they want to know how this is done. In this video, I'm going to run through the 7-step process that we work through with a client, take their app from idea to execution. Here are the 7 steps we do at Flying Donkey to get a client's app from idea to execution. Firstly, when we meet with a client, we ask them to list a set of functionality. Secondly, from this functionality, we build out a prototype for them to confirm. Thirdly, we deliver this prototype to the client. Fourthly, we start the build, and we start small, and I'll talk more about this later. 5, we get approval from the app stores. 6, you market the app to your client base. And finally, there'll be routine updates made to the app. I'm Matt Grace, Managing Director of Flying Donkey. Let's get into it. All right, step 1. Create a list of desired features. This is the first step we always ask our clients to do, and it's simply to list down what you want the application to do itself. We try and keep this list as simple as possible, and it's more about thinking about what is the app actually trying to solve, or what value is it trying to bring to customers. There's a few different ways that clients can look at this depending on what the application fits. Some clients have an existing business model, and they're trying to put the app in alongside what they currently offer. Other clients are trying to pitch the app as a standalone business, and therefore the app has to have a larger value proposition. A couple ways to think about this is Woolworths has already got an existing business, and delivering an app is really about bringing their functionality they already have into an app. Therefore, they would start listing out the functions they do in their current business and how that's going to work in the app. Whereas a standalone app, say like Uber, which is done all through the application, it's really about building a business around the app, and it's trying to work out how that business will look and work with inside an app and listing all those features down. This first step is really important as it's trying to get your thoughts onto paper and to how the application is actually going to work. And this is a starting point for us to know how to build step 2. And step 2 is prototyping. So what we do is we take the list of features you gave us in step 1 and we start trying to pull these together into a prototype. This prototype is going to look and feel very much like an application, and it's going to be very interactive. What we're doing in this step is we're really trying to bring those ideas from paper into reality into an app. When you see them in person in an app, particularly in a prototype, they just don't make sense. And really here, we're just trying to confirm that what you're trying to build as an app is both doable and is going to be something of value to your clients. Step 3, delivering the prototype. Once the prototype has been created, we send it back to the client to check and make sure it's all good. To make sure that the functionality they've specified for us is aligned to what we've done in the prototype and what they actually thought that the app would work and act like it is actually doing. From here, it's a really important stage, and this is generally where the process sometimes pauses for clients to reassess what the application is doing, and they go out and talk to various investors or internal business people to try and get sign off on the app. The prototype is really good for this because it actually shows people how the application is going to work and is really visual and gives great feedback. What we generally recommend is, depending on the application and where it sits in the business, if it's an existing business, we want to take this prototype to senior management to show them what the app is going to do and what value it's going to bring to the business, and try and get that sign off internally and the funding to move the app forward. In other instances where the app is a standalone business, what we want to do is take that prototype out to prospective clients and or investors and show them this is what the application is going to look like and feel like, and this is what it's going to achieve, and therefore trying to raise money in order to fund the development. One key point here to remember when presenting this prototype is that development is only one small cost of an overall app. And while initially it is quite significant, over the life of the business, the development cost is going to be significantly smaller than the wider business costs. In a business, you have various other salaries, accountants, lawyers, marketing, etc. Not to mention the actual admin and operation of the business itself. So at this point, we always recommend clients don't go and seek funding or budget just for the development piece themselves, but they also seek budget and funding for the wider business as well. What we'd hate to see is that the app to be built and delivered, and then no marketing or no push behind the app once it's delivered, and the app actually fail, even though the application itself is quite good. So keep this in mind when you're trying to pull together an app. Point 4, develop and start small. I've done a whole other video on why starting small is so important, but I'll rehash it here and explain again why it's so important. So at the development stage here, we've got all the functionality, we've built a prototype, we've got sign off, and we've got funding to build the app. We have a plan going forward and how we're going to market it to people, and that's funded as well. At this point, we want to try and develop an app and get that in front of people as soon as possible. Try and get that feedback from the wider audience to make sure the assumptions we've made about value are correct. And this is where starting small is very important. We don't want to get bogged down in building an app for 6, 12, 18 months. We get to the end of that process, deliver that to the marketplace, and find there's no connection with it. What we want to do is get in and develop something really small that gives value to the clients, and get that in the hand of the clients and see if there is actually value there. If we do this and it's not correct, it allows us to pivot early with funding still in the bank, or alternatively, if there isn't a market fit, we can stop it right there. Very key that you start small with the development piece, and you try and cut down as much functionality as you can. The less functionality there is, the quicker and cheaper it's going to be to build. Step 5, App Store approval. We've now built the app and we're ready to deploy it out into the wild. There's two main app stores you want to deploy this to. That's going to be Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store. This is going to cover you across all the Android and iOS phones. Both of these app stores have a process on how to submit applications. Both Apple and Google, who own these stores, have a vigorous checking process on where they check the app and how it works and that it's fit for service on their app store. There are some fees for the stores to sign up with that are fairly negligible. The main purpose here is that we want to submit the apps to these stores and make sure that both Apple and Google are happy with them and they abide by our guidelines. We've done this in the past and the feedback is generally pretty good. And generally it's only small tweaks or security issues that you have to fix and they get sent through to the store. Both Apple and Google are really just trying to protect their users, so as long as the app isn't trying to do anything tricky, they're generally perfectly fine to let it into their app store. Step 6, marketing and creating revenue. Now earlier on, I mentioned that you would have to also get budget for your marketing piece. And this is where this is going to come into fruition. So now we've developed the app, we've tested it, we've sent it into the Play and App stores, and we're out into the marketplace. The app is in the store, but honestly, no one is going to find it unless they've got it marketed to them. At this point, you're trying to market the app to the wider audience, whether that's an internal built-in audience, or if it's a new app, out to a new audience. This way you need to see whether there's traction for the app and if there's value to the client, and you can build revenue off this. From my earlier example, it's really about if you're Woolworths delivering an app, are there enough orders going through that app to justify the cost in running the app? If you're a brand new business like Uber, is there enough business coming in through there to make the business viable? Once you're happy that your app is going successfully, we're going to move on to our 7th and final point, updating. You've probably seen this on your phone all the time, apps constantly update. This is for a variety of reasons. This generally boils down to one of two things. Firstly, is further functionality and feature changes as requested by users. And secondly, security enhancement updates to make sure the app is up to date with the latest security trends. We generally recommend users update their apps every 3 to 6 months just to keep things current, even if they're just updating the library for security reasons. But obviously, the thing here, because we started small, the idea here is to roll out functionality incrementally into the app and try and get user feedback. At this point, it will become an iterative process. As functionality is requested, that would go through the same process. You'd write down a list of functionality required, you get a prototype built, approved, budgeted, and released through the same process. And you keep doing this on your app while you're building on value and building in your clients. At this point, I hope you have a successful app, and we've taken this app from idea to completion. That's the 7-step process here at Flying Donkey. If you have any questions on how to take your idea into an app, feel free to reach out and have a chat.